We were pretty famous back in high school. Trust us!
Had a whole future ahead of us, but now we suck.
All that potential now is flowing in the aqueducts.
Through the sands of time, many did forget.
But now our time has come to resurrect. But a podcast.
Sad I know, but can you blame us?
We are desperate to be much more than high school famous.
Hello and welcome to High School Famous, podcast that's constantly searching for a new opening line. I am Matt.
Yay! I'm Sean.
Hi,
I gotta
Sean.
tell you, the energy level was great on that one.
Okay, yeah, I felt I needed to bring it up more because you complained so much last time.
I mean, I could tell you're in a really great mood right now because of
I'm frustrated.
that energy.
Frustrated as hell right now. But hey, it's I don't know, it's Easter Sunday.
It is.
Yeah.
And instead of
listeners.
Instead of spending time with loved ones, we are talking to each other alone.
Wow. I thought you thought of me as a loved one, Sean. I'm deeply disappointed.
How about instead of spending time with blood relatives?
Okay.
Or people that we would otherwise choose to spend time with.
What's a non-blood relative?
Like an in-law, someone,
I guess.
an in-law, like if brother-in-law, sister-in-law, mother-in-law.
Yeah.
You consider them relatives, right?
I guess.
Because
some of them.
So, not all of them.
No, there's certain ones I definitely don't consider relatives anymore.
Yeah. Well,
that's a discussion for not during the podcast.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
Easter Sunday. Let's talk
Easter
about
Sunday,
family issues.
and it's like, yeah, right. This is a day of families coming together. Let's talk about tearing them apart.
Yeah.
With our bare teeth. That's a saying, right? But yeah, hey, it's Easter. It's really, really nice out today, actually.
I know. So last year,
70-something.
Last year, it's like 77 here.
Nice.
Last year at Easter, I hid some plastic eggs outside in the yard.
Just for fun.
For Leo to...
Nothing to do with Easter. It was just,
It was, I don't pay attention to I don't have a calendar, so I didn't know what day it was.
You don't have a bank account. It was just, that's where you keep your money. You put them in plastic eggs. Just lay them around the house. It's very unassuming. People wouldn't, people are just going to assume they're Easter eggs. There's probably candy in them. They're going to assume that's all your wealth.
Well, and I mean, since it happened to coincidentally be Easter, I could see that being the case where someone would look at them and say, "Oh, those are Easter eggs. They're hiding them for a child."
Yeah.
But when it's August and they see me stashing plastic pastel colored eggs around the yard, then they start to wonder.
Right.
But I think so far no one's approached me to ask anything, and I haven't come across any missing eggs. Right. So I think they're just keeping their distance out of fear.
Or social distancing still.
True.
Yeah. It's a COVID thing. It's not you're reading too much into it.
Now I'm wondering.
People are avoiding you for COVID and your personality.
Yeah. It's very deadly.
Your personality or COVID?
My personality.
Okay.
There are a lot of unsavory symptoms that people go through after talking to me.
Right.
And experiencing my So, but now that I'm thinking, I don't even know if that was last Easter, what I was talking about. I've kind of forgot about what was happening last April. In any event, the whole point I was trying to make was that at that time, it was really cold out and there was snow and I had to we had to wear jackets outside while Leo looked. But today I was afraid to put them outside because if there's any chocolate or anything that could be melted, sitting out in the 70-something degree weather, they were going to be.
Just turns into just an egg full of liquid chocolate.
Yeah. Drink up.
Just comes out like you're just like, I'm just gonna take out the middleman here and just put Hershey's syrup inside the eggs.
Close
them and put them back out in the yard.
I didn't bother with any solid candy. I took a bottle of Hershey's syrup and filled them up. Sadly, they all have little holes at the ends of them, so a lot of it poured out.
Right.
And my dog is sick.
Right.
So
unrelated.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
Right.
Oh yeah, I poisoned the dog.
Yeah, which is weird because your outlook, or not your outlook, but basically the way you look at chocolate, always liquid, is the complete opposite of the way you look at bodily functions or bodily fluids. You always go for the solids.
Well, all of them?
All of the solids?
like all of the bodily fluids, I want them to be solid? Is that what you're saying?
No, you only go for the solids.
Oh, I see.
Like when it comes to chocolate, you only like the liquids. But when it comes to excrement, you only like the solids.
Fudge. When it comes to fudge, well, yeah. I mean, who wants if you're going to get into something like that, you want it to be as least messy as possible. And so, obviously, the more solid you're looking at, the better.
Right.
Plus, it's easier to wash up afterwards.
True. It's like
I assume it's easier to wash up afterwards. I never do.
It's like doing art with chalk versus watercolors.
Yeah.
Or finger paints. That's what I should have said.
I'm on my neighbor's sidewalk. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly like that.
I mean, is it really your neighbor's sidewalk? It's just in front of their house. Or are you talking about the part that leads to their front door?
The walkway to
the walkway to the front door, not the public sidewalk part, but the actual path up to their door.
Yeah, there's going to be too much traffic on the actual sidewalk, and I want it to last.
Right.
So I put it just about 20 feet before the front step of their house.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Good. And I usually write "You made me do this" right below the artwork. So
yeah, I did. I honestly didn't know it was Easter this weekend until like probably Friday when I realized. Yeah, when I realized it was Easter weekend, I'm like, oh, crazy. Because usually, like,
well, it seems like.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it seems like, I mean, this whole year has been an celebratory year. You don't even think about any eventful day that might typically result in gathering with people or anything like that. It's just, it's in the trash. It's out the window this year. Still.
Right. Well, because like for I don't even know how many years. I think it was the year just before or the year just after my oldest sister was born. My parents or my mom accidentally kind of started a tradition. She basically just had a bunch of people over for Holy Saturday.
I remember.
Yeah,
this.
and then that just ended up, they just like, oh, that was fun, let's do it again. So they just did it every year for, my sister's gonna be 42 this year. So it was basically for almost 40 years straight until COVID hit, and that was the first. I think it went straight 40 years, and then last year was the first year they ddidn't do it. It was just kind of like,
wow.
Yeah, so like a 40-year tradition that was so like basically ever since I've been alive, been one every single year, and I think I think I had missed maybe a couple since I moved out to Chicago, but
I think I remember being irritated because over Easter weekend you were never available both days.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like it makes sense for people to be busy on Sunday.
Right.
And not being able to hang out on Sunday, but you were always unavailable on Saturday and Sunday.
Yep, that was the one weekend out of the year that, yeah. I mean, as I got a little older, yeah, Sunday was fine. I could go and do whatever. But yeah, Holy Saturday was our get together. My parents invited a bunch of their friends over, and then it was just kind of a tradition. Like we'd come over, everybody would, we'd cook a big meal, we'd play a bunch of like board games and things. And then eventually, over time, it just kind of became mostly just our family, and a couple of my parents' friends would come here and there, depending, like, come one year, not come the next year, and stuff like that. But it was always super fun, especially on days when it was really nice like this and not the cruddier, colder ones.
Yeah. Yeah, the one thing that's kind of stinks about today is it's so nice out, but I had all these things that were kind of holding me up and keeping me here.
Right.
That I couldn't get outside and enjoy myself.
I did get outside for a little bit today.
What?
Yeah, I went.
You went to church?
I was going back and forth on like, should I go for a bike ride? Should I not go for a bike ride? And then finally, I was just like, you know what, screw it. So I decided to just go out because like it's too nice, and I will. If I don't go, then I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to be kicking myself later that I just kind of wasted time. So what are you doing?
This is you kicking.
Oh,
I mean, gotcha. I can't really.
But yeah, so I just, I decided screw it, and I went out I just did, it was like 8 miles because I didn't want to push too hard since I've only ridden my bike back and forth to work a couple times this year so far on a couple nice days, earlier in March. So I'm like, normally I'll try to go for a longer ride than that, but I didn't want to push myself until I kind of taken the time to wear myself back in. It's not the proper saying.
Yeah. Yeah, the other day I worked out again for the first time in a little while, and I'm still feeling it. I'm still feeling it today.
I'm sure my legs will be sore tomorrow.
My legs.
Because I noticed one day, like, I had a random bruise on my knee after I'd biked back and forth to work, which is one way only a little under 2 miles to go to work. Huh. So it's a little less than 4 miles total on any day. And I fucking, like, out of nowhere, I just see this giant, ugly bruise on my knee, and I don't remember hitting my knee on anything. So the only thing I can think of is that somehow I, like, popped something, like, under the skin of my knee, and it kind of, like had a little bit of internal bleeding or something. Like, it was nasty looking, and it was tender, but, like, all I did was bike to work and back. Like, I didn't hit my knee on anything. So I'm like, God,
I remember when I was younger, I kind of had that with scratches and scrapes. Yeah. I would all of a sudden look at my arm or something and see a big gash. I'm like, I don't remember how I got that thing. Where'd that come from? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time. Like, I'll do that at work, and I'll be doing whatever, and then I'll look at something, and I'm just like, my hand is just bleeding like crazy. I'm like, I have no idea what happened. But
ever since I've been at a desk typing at a computer for work, that hasn't happened to me.
Yeah, now you're just you're going to be too soft, so that anything that tries to cut you is just going to bounce off.
Oh, the woods! I don't want to go. There's sticks out there.
The trees will part ways for you now. They're like, he's too soft; he'll get stuck to us.
Yeah, we now have the ability to part ways because of him.
He's like a marshmallow. We must not get involved.
But not the kind we want to eat.
Yeah, so he'll get stuck to us and then be roasted over a fire because he's already on the stick.
So yeah, so the forest is willing to get out of my way because of how fragile I am, but they're not opposed to having me burn over a fire.
No, they're saying, like, if they didn't part ways and you got stuck on them, then you'd be burned over. So basically, they're saying
by the tree,
their limbs would be removed because there's now a big marshmallow on their limbs that somebody's going to want to roast over a fire. This doesn't make any sense to me as much as I'm trying to explain it to you.
Is that one of the trees? Is the tree going to burn its own branch to roast me over a fire?
Believe it or not, I didn't think of any of this ahead of time.
Oh.
So
okay, bad news.
Know. Are we going to finally bad news it? It's been a while.
Well, one of us has to say it.
So should we make any sort of mention about the fact that I literally had somebody ask me if we were no longer recording episodes because of, I believe it had to do with the post that you put up on Wednesday. Yeah, because I kept screwing up and not sending you stuff, I think. And I forgot to post the damn episode on Thursday too, and I had to do it like way later.
Yeah, because I had said something like, no episode today or ever, we're throwing in the towel or something like that. I basically said we're giving up.
It was like a pre-April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
April
and
Fool.
then the next day I posted, April Fool's, here's an episode.
Right.
So, and there was
if I would have thought about that, if I would have thought about the fact, like if I would have pre-planned the fact that I forgot to upload the episode on Thursday morning, we could have posted that Thursday morning. The Instagram post, and then later in the day release the episode like later in the morning, like I did. But
that
we clearly
so hard.
Yeah, we clearly put no thought into that at all, and also accidentally released an episode very late.
Yeah, there was someone that reacted to the post saying that there's going to be no more episodes with a sad face.
Right.
They seemed very sad. And then they were pleased the next day when they found out it was all a ruse. An elaborate, dynamic, diabolical.
It was so planned out.
It was very intricate. There's a lot of moving pieces. It all had to fall into place perfectly. Otherwise, it would have crashed and burned.
And all of our tens of followers would have been
indifferent.
Yep.
Bad news?
Let's do bad news.
No? Yay,
let's do bad news.
Bad news.
I'm going to go first. No reason. I'm just going to because I have it right in front of me right now and I'm looking at it.
Got it. Take it away.
All right, here is my bad news. Since it's Easter, I thought I'd grace you all with a poem. I've recently started poeming. That doesn't seem like it should. Yeah, poeming.
It's not a word.
Because, I know, yeah, I can see that. If I were to try to, the suggestion it wants me to change it to is pooping.
Is that something you've also recently started doing? You can change it if you want.
No, I think we've already done a bad news about that.
Yeah, probably.
We definitely did. I've recently started poeming because, frankly, the poems out there now are simply breathtaking. So I started doing it because other ones are so good that I also want to do it. Sure. This is if breathtaking is used to describe something that belongs in a horse's toilet. Okay? This is also based on a world where there are toilets designed for horses, and some horses own them. Only the wealthy ones, like winners of the Kentucky Derby. Not your low-rent police horses or future glues. Famous movie/TV horses probably, too. Like Mr. Ed. Although, I bet horse toilets way back then would have been too expensive for even for Mr. Ed. Are there any other famous horse characters? What's that movie about the famous racehorse? Anyway, I feel like I skipped an entire line, but I didn't.
I don't think you did.
Anyways, I can't think of it, but that probably doesn't count anyway. I doubt the horse that played that famous horse is wealthy. That's just a movie horse. So the famous racehorse that might have been able to have a horse toilet. That is a sentence.
You added a word. You added the word.
So the famous racehorse might have been able to have a horse toilet. Got it. You know what, though? I guess why would they make horse toilets if no horse could afford them? So Mr. Ed definitely owned a toilet in this scenario. Seabiscuit. That was the racehorse's name. Seabiscuit. Got it. I knew it. That guy's definitely plooping in some porcelain in this imaginary world. That guy.
Flopping.
That guy. I like plooping better.
Okay, good for you.
I mean, it says plopping, but I think I enjoy the word plooping because it's definitely not a word. What if I'm onto something? What if this isn't imaginary? What if there really are horse toilets? I'm trying to think. Do I know any horses? Who would know? I've got some research to do. Real undercover stuff. This kind of thing would no doubt be kept secret. What? The toilet thing or the fact that I might know a horse?
I don't know. It's your news.
Could you imagine if anyone knew about this? I hope you enjoyed my poem. I'm shaping up to be quite the poemer. So this was supposed to be a poem.
So at what point did your poem start?
Let's see here.
You declared that you were going to give us a poem, and then you just started ranting about why the poems now suck.
Right.
And then I couldn't even tell when the poem started. I mean, if that's an artistic choice, bravo. But I don't.
Right.
I don't know. Tell me what's the beginning of the poem?
I mean, if you don't know, this is clearly above you.
It's above my toilet grade.
It's above your thought process. It's above. You're not. I understandably so. You're not a poem person. So,
right.
It's not something that can really be explained as much as something you just gotta, if you immerse yourself in the poem culture, then you would, then it would all fall into place. It would all make sense to you. I don't like to write poems that are so obviously like a poem. It's just like, oh, that's clearly a poem. How boring. Like,
okay,
this is nuanced,
but not so much so that people who regularly immerse themselves in the world of poems, it's easy for them to figure it out.
Yeah.
So as far as the poem community,
yeah,
your poem might be considered like layman or low level or
of course
amateur because it's
so serious. Are you kidding me?
Well, you're saying that
they would know. They would know.
They would easily know.
Well, they would easily know it's a poem because they know they're in that system. They're in that in that world, the poem world.
Yeah, but
so they're like, oh yes, this is a poem. if you're not in the poem world, you clearly wouldn't know this was a poem, but we do. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means they know it, that they can tell it's a poem.
So it doesn't make it bad or good if it's easy to figure out whether or not it's a poem within the poem community.
We don't have enough time in this episode for me to explain to you how this is good.
I'm going to check the runtime so far. We have a lot of time.
Yeah, and it's not enough. For me to get your brain to be able to wrap itself around this, not enough time.
Okay.
You need weeks.
Let's not forget who actually wrote this awesome poem of poems.
That's
for
what
the
makes
poemers.
It ridiculous. Is you didn't even know. You wrote
I didn't even know that I wrote it.
Understand. You wrote it, but you don't even understand why. You asked me how it's a poem, and you wrote the damn thing. Let's move on.
Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit. I was waiting to see if you were going to mention Seabiscuit, and because I knew the answer. I mean, well, that's one of a few answers it could have been actually. So.
Well, I was typing it up, and I'm like, I was trying to cycle through what it could have been, and I'm like, because I knew I knew what it was, but I just couldn't think of it, and I'm like, I'm not going to look it up. If it comes
so literally
to me
as you were typing, that's what it. Okay.
Yeah.
So where you typed in the story was literally where it came to your head when it popped into your head.
Pretty much. I mean, I finished the sentence I was in the middle of, and then I'm like, Seabiscuit. That's what it is.
Okay.
So that's where within this poem I remembered the name of the horse in that movie.
Well, it was a real horse, right?
It was. Yeah, I know that. I've never seen the movie, but I do know it was.
The movie is all right.
A real horse.
Did you know who Seabiscuit's father was? His horse father. It was another very famous racehorse.
You got me. I have no idea. I don't know any horses.
Seabiscuit's dad was called, I believe, War Admiral.
Oh yeah, I have zero knowledge of the,
as far as I remember,
racehorse.
I could be wrong.
Racehorse history.
I'm like 90% sure that's correct.
Like I don't even know the name of King Arthur's horse. Is there a name for King Arthur's horse?
Probably. This episode is going to turn into us Googling famous horses.
I mean, yeah. I mean, all I did was
Mr. Ed's
I started to,
real name was Charles.
Charles Horse.
Charles Horse. Of course, it's Charles. Oh, that was unintentional.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was completely unintentional.
Oh, I see right through you.
Oh wait, no,
yeah,
fuck, I was completely wrong. I believe it. Or no, hold on. I was just looking up famous horses. Hold on.
Oh gosh, I just googled Seabiscuit to make sure I spelled it right.
Oh,
that's as much research as I did.
I was wrong. War Admiral was not Seabiscuit's father. They actually raced against each other.
Oh,
now I got to see who.
That would have been more dramatic if it were his father.
His parents were hardtack and swing on, so I was wrong. I knew War Admiral had something to do with the Seabiscuit era, but I couldn't remember. So I got that.
Who came up with the horse naming scheme?
Dude, they're also their Secretariat.
This is insane.
Secretariat was a very popular one.
Wait,
Man of War.
I think I've heard of Secretariat.
Yeah, Secretariat was a pretty famous one.
Man of War. That's a sea creature, isn't it?
Yeah. Also,
isn't that a sea creature?
Also, the name of a horse.
Well, no, it's the name given to a horse. Well, like a horse is a Man of War. The horse is a horse. Its species isn't a horse or a Man of War. The sea creature Man of War. I don't know if any of them have been named, but it's just a Man of War. That's its species.
Right.
What would you name a Man of War if you had one?
If I had, I would name it very expensive to maintain. It's a weird name, but
so
you know how expensive it would be to freaking keep one of those? They're huge. You're
jumping off the you're kicking off the Man of War naming scheme. Pretty you're beyond ridiculous. It's even beyond nonsensical as the horse naming is. You're starting it off with a high bar.
I would name it Manny. How about that? There. That's far less ridiculous and not as funny.
Manny for short?
Yeah, Manny for short.
What was your first one? Too expensive to what?
Too expensive to maintain.
Yeah, so Manny is short for the maintain part of it. So the full name is still too expensive to maintain, but you call it maybe Maney.
Right. Tui.
Okay, well, I guess you don't have to You have to settle on something now.
Well,
you don't have the Man of War yet, so I mean,
or ever.
You can once you get it, you can then you have to really make a decision on the name, but you can waffle between a few until then.
I'm gonna basically just take my time because I'm gonna have to buy a very expensive aquarium, fill it with salt water.
I was walking through the park about a month ago when I saw some young dudes playing some b-ball. Most of them were very skilled, but one guy I noticed really needed to work on his ball handling. Every time I got a hold of the ball, he tried everything, but it just kept slipping out of his hands. He started complaining about a headache, so we went over to the side of the court and sat down next to his girl. She took his head in her hands and stroked it. In an instant, she was dripping wet. A few kids accidentally hit her with a water balloon in a game that was getting out of hand. I decided to move on so as to not also get involved in the water fight. Further along my walk, I saw a food cart. I was getting pretty hungry, so I decided to check it out. It was a Polish cart. Okay. I love the taste of sausage in my... You can't say a Polish sausage cart? It's a Polish cart. Anyway, I love the taste of sausage in my mouth, so I decided to buy one. The vendor picked out a really big one. I knew he'd have trouble with the bun. He tried everything, but just couldn't get it in. I asked him where he got such big meat from, and he pulled it out. I was really surprised by how big his package was. It took him a moment to put it away because it took up so much space. It was about this time I needed to head back home because I had someone coming over to trim my bush. I walked past a sectioned off dog park area and asked a woman with a small dog, "Do you want a bone?" I always keep some dog treats in a bag in my pocket in case I see a friendly dog. We chatted for a bit. I told her I love dogs, but my favorite animal is definitely the beaver. She had beautiful skin that made her pearl necklace really glisten in the sun. She told me she really likes motorcycles, so I asked her if she would like to take a ride on my hog sometime. A few days later, I met her back at the park to take her up on that ride.
What?
The power...
You're saying this as if this isn't just your news and you're just being an ass.
The power of the thrust was a bit more than she could handle. We were only riding for maybe 45 seconds before she was desperate to get off. We headed back to my place for some dinner. She told me she was tired because she had spent all morning on her knees. She gave me a basket full of fresh vegetables she had pulled earlier in the day. She showed how to prepare it just right, and ever since then I love tossing salad. I made us delicious sub sandwiches. I think she expected to just get 6 inches, but I gave her all 12. She complained that it was a little hot, so I told her she should try blowing it. We found out we also both loved to make birdhouses, so we went out to my shed and banged all night. It was one of the nicest days I've had in quite a while, and sometimes I jerk off thinking about it.
Wow, that one was more on the nose.
No,
I mean there was a lot of sexual innuendos and double entendres in there, but man, that last one.
Yeah, I was gonna say no air quotes clever innuendo on that one, like the rest of it. Yep.
I mean, care to elaborate on any of that?
I mean, no, it's all right. Normal stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you might, if your mind happens to go to places that aren't the nature of this story, that's your business.
True.
That's your issue to deal with. This is all harmless stuff. I had a Polish sausage that was really big in my mouth. Some girl got dripping wet after stroking some head.
She got hit by a water balloon.
Stroking that also that also happened, but in the chronology of the story, it also happened after that. The head stroking.
Right.
The dripping wet was caused by the water balloon, but it just so happened to work out time-wise that it was after stroking that guy's head. I mean, so let's just yeah. So my news is crazy long.
The fuck?
Get it? And I mean, I think Matt went kind of obvious with that one. So what do you think, everyone, of our news? I think it's great. I hope that you also think it's great news.
Fuck. God damn this shit.
So today's Easter, and I'm enjoying some soda, and I hid some plastic eggs, and they are
I'm getting
full
tired.
of candy, and one of them had money in it.
Shit, not.
And I got a new thing. I got a new couch, and it's got some throw pillows.
I mean,
and,
you didn't have to talk and fill in space. We'll just edit a chunk of shit out because I was just basically saying, "Fuck this! What the fuck?" I'm getting pissed the entire time. My phone has been dropping like calls and shit like crazy the last 2 days for no reason.
Well,
I'm gonna have to figure
Matt,
out that chunk of time.
I seamlessly ad-libbed and stretched. The audience would have been completely none the wiser that there were any technical difficulties.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was talking at the same time as I was starting a new meeting, and I was looking around the room to find out what I should talk about, and it was great. And then you came in, you're like, man, all these problems. We're going to edit all that out, guys. Sorry for the problems.
So basically what happened was, for no reason whatsoever, in the middle of a sentence Sean was saying, my call just dropped completely. So he clearly kept going, and I just started... my audio will just be me cursing on my end.
I want to
hear what it sounds like, because...
I know. Before you decide to cut anything.
We'll have to listen to what it sounds like with me just cursing for no reason in the middle of Sean just telling whatever story he was telling.
Now, I want this to be left in because it's probably pretty awesome.
I mean, I wasn't going crazy. I was just like, this fucking shit. God damn.
Well, it'd be really funny if it lines up nicely with stuff I'm saying.
Yeah. New code. Like, fuck this.
Yeah. Like, you're really sick of what I'm saying. Or like, he's talking about this.
Just throws off. It just, I mean, par for course. It just throws off the momentum of everything.
It's been the kind of day it's been.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, before we started recording, I found new... I got a new thing to make my recording better, and it was working great 2 days ago when I first tested it out, and then today it's giving me the same problems I had on my old piece of equipment that I was using, so I'm basically right back to ground to square one with it, dicking around with that for, I guess, about 20 minutes before we started recording.
It was something like that.
Yeah, it's like every fucking time.
So, do you have any meat? Any meat for this podcast sandwich?
Well, if it was a sandwich, you'd think we'd at least have a beginning and an end.
We started at the beginning.
Oh yeah, but we never. I mean, a sandwich means like you just have to fill the center of it. So we would have we'd have the start and the end of it.
Well, I've got a bottom bun.
I'm trying to think of what's a better way to describe something that has all of the stuff at the beginning and then nothing in the middle and the end. What kind of a
It just has the beginning?
It just has, what kind of a food is it where it would just be the first part and not the middle or the end part? You know, like a sandwich is, you fill the middle of it with the meat.
And the bread is, the
bread is your beginning and your ending. So it means it means you have your start and your finish already ready to go. But we just have our start. What's our meat and what's our bottom bun?
Well, I guess we'll have to just, in order to figure that out, we have to figure out what our start is.
The start is every episode we always have our news, so
I know what that,
but
I know, but we're talking about food now, so we have to think of... I don't
know what we're talking about
some sort of beginning of food that doesn't have an end.
Right.
Like, I don't know, is it like a fish head? But you wouldn't eat that. Like, I don't know. This is weird. Maybe it would just, I guess, would be the ingredients, and if you don't prepare them, maybe you just have a bunch of loose ingredients.
Our podcast is like an ice cream cone. It's all, everything's up at the top, and then as you're going down, it just get less and less of it.
Less and less of it, yeah. Maybe by then you want less and less of it anyway. So maybe it works out.
Yeah, there's nothing like starting strong and ending.
ending all pointy.
Yeah.
And crumbly.
No, I don't know.
Except when the cones have that chocolate lining and there's a little triangle, that small cone of chocolate at the bottom. That's good, and it holds the cone together nice.
It's kind of good sometimes. I mean, it's really what it does is keeps the ice cream from like dripping out the bottom of the cone.
Yeah, and that's amazing.
Purpose of it.
But
sometimes
a very delicious
when you get
solution.
to the end of like, oh, I just had all this delicious ice cream, then it's like, just a big thick chunk of chocolate at the end that you're just kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes
that's awesome.
That's too much.
Not for me.
Well, I'm sure not for most people, and I'm probably like the weird, like odd one out in that situation.
So I got a new TV recently.
Right. Yep.
So I got the TV. I set it up. It's an LED TV, and it looks like there was a little bit of like edge bleed where there's a constant part of the edge that's kind of lit up all the time. So I ordered this on, I guess I could say I got it from Best Buy. And I ordered it on bestbuy.com. And so when I went into the store to say, hey, this TV is all I might be messed up, they said, well, if you would have bought it in the store, we use different point of sale systems, so I can't just like sell you a new TV and have it. I can't arrange to have like a delivery come to drop off a new TV and pick up the old one. Had you bought it in the store, then you could. But since the website uses different systems that we don't know, you can't do that. So you have to bring the TV in and then buy a new TV and take the new TV home, and they have to inspect the old TV, blah 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 blah.
Before so you can like get a refund and all that.
Right. And my little car is too small to fit the TV, so I had to basically put some money down. So in the morning, I was going to do all this. The website said they had a couple TVs in stock, and then later on that day, they said they no longer had any in stock. So I drove there just to say, hey, what can I do? Because you had some in stock, and now you don't. This is the earliest I could get here. My TV needs to be replaced. What do I do? And so they said, yeah, well, let's check our system. The home theater people have their own stock system, and they had some in stock. I'm like, this is so pragmatic and messed, right? Like, why is it not all one cohesive thing?
Right.
They said, yeah, we're working on integrating our systems. We got the in-store stuff and the web stuff. I'm like, your website and your stores have both existed for a long time.
Right. Your stores have existed before, like,
the internet, maybe not the
internet sales and stuff, before, like, all of that was a big thing. So it's like, the hell? Why are you,
so it's 2021. So why are you,
you did this to yourselves.
Right now, starting on integrating your systems? Right. So I drove to Menards to pick up a truck. I looked, there was one truck in the parking lot. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I parked and I got out of the car and I started to walk, and someone got in that last truck and drove away. So I'm like, so I went to the customer service desk. I said, hey, any idea when any trucks are going to schedule to come back? Because then I can try to time it out and just kind of head back around that time.
Right.
Like, no, couple of these are supposed to be back at 4. This was about 3 or so o'clock, so maybe an hour. They said one of them is supposed to be back at 11 a.m. and it's still not here. I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm like,
that one's been reported stolen.
Yeah, so I'm like, I didn't want to go home, so I drove over to get some food. I asked for a burger that just had ketchup on it. They decided to give me no ketchup and put pickles on it. Lovely. So I had a condimentless burger with my food. But luckily, right when I parked, as I was eating in the Menards parking lot, one of the trucks came back. So I went in and I got the truck and I drove home to get the TV. So Menards and Best Buy are very close to each other. So I had to drive past Best Buy to get to my house, then drive to Best Buy. And then I brought the TV in. When I originally bought the TV, it was one price, but then for like a member deal, I got an additional $50 off. So since I had to do an in-store adjustment before I took the TV home. But then when they were doing the exchange, for some reason it rang up that I got an additional $100 off. So the amount of credit I was going to have to go toward the replacement TV wasn't going to be enough.
What?
And nobody could figure out why there was an extra $100 taken off. And they said, well, if it was bought here through us, we could look it up. But since you bought it online, you have to call corporate to figure it out. And I'm like, I'm on a time crunch. I only paid for the first 75 minutes for this truck.
Right.
So I'm on a time crunch here. So there was like 3 managers all like talking to each other, trying to figure out why this $100 is there. And they're trying to figure out ways to make it ring up right. And the guy's just like, I'm just going to price adjust the TV you're taking home so it matches the price that this says you bought the TV for. I'm like, well, yeah, but what if there's a problem with this new TV? Then it's saying I spent $100 less than I really did. So
basically, the price that they were saying you paid for it was $100 less than what you actually did pay for it.
Right.
So you did pay, say you paid $600, but they're saying you only paid $500.
Right.
So okay. So now, it's not that you paid less; it's just that their system was screwed up at saying what you'd actually paid.
The only thing I could think of that might have possibly happened is coincidentally, the TV's regular price, let's say it was $700.
Right.
But it was on sale for $600.
Right.
And then I got my member discount of another $50, and that's what they manually adjusted. So the only thing I could think of is maybe that initial sale price of $100 off got triggered in the system as, I don't know.
Weird.
Maybe it took what I paid and took $100 off of what I paid because of the sale. I don't know. So I finally took the new TV out of the store, got it home, brought it into the house, and by that point I had reached my time for the truck. So I had to drive back to Menards, and I went in there with 2 minutes just because every 15 minutes you go over, they charge you an extra $5, so it's not a lot.
Right.
But I got in there with 2 minutes left of my 15 extra minutes, and there was one woman at the counter, like renting a rug doctor, right, and looking through cleaning solutions and all this stuff, and I'm like, it was more like 8 minutes by the time I actually got helped, but they didn't. I was worried they were going to try to charge me for another 15 minutes.
Yeah, I would have argued. I mean, you're clearly standing in the store waiting at that point. The truck is back. What can you do?
Right. So they didn't try to do that, which is fine. But then when I went after I got that truck thing sorted out, I asked the woman about the truck from 11 a.m. They said, yeah, it's still not back. And so I'm like, wow.
They're racking up some extra money.
So I asked, I said, what happens if you don't get it back? And they said, they said something like, oh yeah, because they said there was a time when there was someone that had kept the truck for like 3 days or something. Yeah. And they said, oh yeah, we're not going to be getting any money from that guy. So it makes it sound like they're just out the money for the truck if someone steals it. But weird. They end up getting the truck back, I think, through police involvement. Right. But the way she made it sound was like, oh yeah, we're not getting money for that truck. So you would think that
you have to put anyone who rents it, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. She didn't say anything. I'm sure that's what they do. Right. But this is also based on someone having a credit limit that is equal to the value of the truck, because you can't charge them. Like, let's say the card they put it on.
Yeah, they get charged for the value of the truck, like they keep it.
Yeah, like if the card they use to rent the truck has a $7,000 limit on it, but the truck is worth $15,000. Right. They can't charge that credit card $15,000. Right. It'll get declined. So I don't know what I mean. I mean, sure
you have the person's information. You just sue them or whatever, and take them to court.
Yeah, but the way she described it seemed a little off. It made me think that if someone steals a truck that they rented, that they just have a truck. And if they don't get caught,
all right, free truck.
Yeah,
and so it's insured. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, So all these weird things kept adding up.
So long story short, long story long, but moral of the story: your new TV, is it good? It doesn't have the same problem, or you haven't even had time to hook it up yet?
I didn't. I did hook it up earlier today. I got it yesterday, so I didn't have time to. But it seems to be better. Okay. It seems like it kind of has the exact same thing in the exact same spot as the other one did. Okay. But just not as obvious, maybe. So I'm like, is that just what I should be expecting from this? Since today is Easter, I wasn't gonna, because I have the guy's cell phone number who helped me out in the store. Okay. I wasn't gonna text him today and be like, so.
Are you at work?
Yeah. So I mean, I've been looking at it. I played a few things to test it out. It seems like it's less noticeable. So I think tomorrow I'll make a judgment call. If I still think it's an issue, I might just send him a picture and say, is this a problem or is this what these TVs do? Right. Because what are the odds that I have pretty much the exact same flaw in two televisions? Right. It seems very unlikely. So, and I was like extra delicate with handling this one when I set it up. Because this size of TV, they recommend you have two people doing it, but it's just me. So I made sure I was super careful with it, and I, just to eliminate any possibility that it was my handling of it that caused a problem. Right. So we'll see.
We'll see.
But earlier I played some.
Do not have a new TV.
Earlier I was playing some Captain America and the Avengers Sega game on it.
Oh,
pretty fun. Yeah.
Is that like? Oh, that's like an old
Sega Genesis. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Old.
It's old. Yeah. They're not making new Sega Genesis games.
No.
That I'm aware of.
Well, Sega the company. I mean, they don't make consoles anymore, but they still make games. I think
for a Sega Genesis.
They'll make them for. No, they'll make them for. Well, their characters are used. Like, there's a game with Sonic where it's like a racing game that's not that old, and so they're making games with their characters, but they're not on Sega consoles. They're just licensing, or they're able to be played on.
What I was saying is they're not making Sega Genesis games anymore, is what I said.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. I would assume not. But
yeah, no.
16-bit, they're still making 16-bit cartridge games.
Yeah, no, doubtful.
Yeah.
I mean, 2021 release, this is a brand new game. Never been played before, and it's getting released on the Sega Genesis.
EA just released Madden 2022 or whatever for the
the Sega Genesis.
Oh.
That would be kind of funny if somebody was still doing that.
It'd probably be super easy to make a Sega game. I mean, it's so the technology and all to make
easier.
Them
Easier.
Yeah,
it's probably not still like super easy, but yeah, I'm sure it's a lot easier than it was.
Well, anyone that's programming games today would probably have no issue programming a Sega Genesis game.
Right.
It's so simple compared to what they make now. What do you got? What do you got, Matt?
I've got nothing. I'm looking at things on my desk.
Fine. You want to try nothing. You want to try a tongue twister?
Oh, I forgot about the tongue twister thing.
Oh, I made a new one.
You made a new one? Are you gonna?
It's not as long as.
Yeah, huh? I was gonna say, are you gonna mock me incessantly at the fact that I don't get something correct that you had time to practice?
What if you say it perfectly? Then I won't.
Well, so you're basically, if I don't say it perfectly, then you will?
I don't know. There's multiple ways to find out. Do you want me to say it first, or do you want to try to say it?
There's kind of one way to find out. I don't know if there's multiple ways to find out.
No, there's more than one way.
Oh, this is it here. You deleted the old one?
No.
Oh, you just
I just typed the new one below it. Well, I'm like,
got it.
Why make a new document called tongue twisters every time? You know what I'm saying? It's plural. So it declares that there will be more than one tongue twister on this document.
Gotcha. Okay, so let me try it.
Okay.
I'll launch missiles at Gristle that whistle if this'll help Fissle my statue of fistfuls of pistols that I need to blissfully chisel. Kind of got it, but not really.
I'll launch missiles at Gristle that whistle if this'll help fizzle my statue of fistfuls of pistols that need to be blissfully chiseled. Or that I need to blissfully chisel. I screwed it up. Got it.
I was about to say, I'm like, wait, the way you said it should be chiseled.
You're right. So, and this wants me to change it to at a Gristle.
Well, yeah.
Like, I guess.
Of course.
So I'll launch missiles.
Obviously.
I'll launch missiles at Gristle that whistles if this'll help fizzle my statue of fistfuls of pistols that I need to blissfully chisel.
Awesome.
What do you think? My first a completely original tongue twister.
How was that your first original one? I thought because you.
The other one was a modification of a classic. Yeah, this is my first time venturing into original content of my own.
Right.
When it comes to tongue twisters.
Yeah, I mean, as far as something that's difficult to say, it ranks. As far as a sentence that makes sense, not so much.
I know. Well, the other one, the woodchuck one, it's basically just alternating a bunch of wood and chuck over and over again a lot. I mean, that's what makes it difficult to say. I'm just curious
as to what a statue of fistfuls of pistols. Like, I'm trying to conjure up what that would look like in my head.
I don't know.
Really weird.
I don't know if it's just a statue of a guy holding pistols, or he has multiple arms and has a pistol in each one of them.
Statue.
I mean, if you're holding
of pistols.
If you're holding a pistol, would you say that's a fistful, or would you say I'm just holding a pistol? Like, do you have to be holding more than one pistol for it to be a fistful?
I would say, well, it's fistfuls of pistols. So,
like, more than one fist is full.
Yeah, it's definitely more than one fist, and there's definitely more than one pistol, but is it one pistol per hand is still more than one pistol. But in my head, I guess I imagine it as multiple pistols in each hand.
Oh.
Fistfuls of pistols.
Like, you're just sort of carrying them. You're not
you just have
holding
a bunch,
them prepared to shoot.
You just have a bunch of them. Yeah. You're not. There's no way you can fire any of them.
You're just sort of cradling a bunch of pistols in each of your hands.
Like, I'm imagining, like, you remember, like, those little, like, in the, like, a grocery store or whatever, those little things that have, you put a quarter in them and you get that little, like, plastic egg
bubble
thing that has, like, a toy in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm imagining, like, one of those, like, little plastic pistols that you could probably get out of those things. Like, that's what, in my head, I'm imagining is a fistfuls of a bunch of those little pistols in your hands.
Is it just the pistols or the inside the plastic bubbles?
Well, no, the plastic bubbles are gone.
Oh, gotcha.
Otherwise, this would make less sense because then it'd be a fistfuls of pistols in plastic bubbles
from a quarter machine.
Yeah, it gets a little clunky.
Yeah, I mean, this is like perfection the way it is.
I mean, it's
got a nice flow.
It flows.
Anyway, I mean, I think that's it. I think we're done.
What an anticlimactic ending.
I hope everyone enjoyed our Easter special.
Yeah, this was definitely the ice cream cone of podcasts. Started off all nice and thick at the beginning and kind of tapered off at the end.
Well, now you're talking about the one that comes to a point. Well, the other ones are called cups, aren't they? Ice cream cups.
No,
the ones
I guess
that are more of a blunt base.
I've never heard anybody refer to it as that.
I think if you buy a box of them, they're called cups.
Okay.
Now that I think of it. So, I mean, I guess that means if you enjoy ice cream cones, then calling our podcast an ice cream cone suggests that it's awesome.
Yeah. I'm more so describing it as the shape.
Oh, okay.
The enthusiasm of this episode is shaped like an ice cream cone. It's all nice. Unless you get the ice cream cone backwards, which is stupid. Don't do that because then all your ice cream cone just comes out the bottom. Yeah,
this is not stuffed crust pizza, you guys.
Yeah.
Eat ice cream responsibly.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like us, we're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as HSFamousPod. Email us at highschoolfamous@gmail.com. If you really love us, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/highschoolfamous. Remember, we love you and want to have your babies.